This is how you come down. Whew, all right, so back here again. Shit piles of feedback came back about what I should do with the channel, how I should do it. Excuse me. And we'll just keep it rolling the way it is until I get home at least, and then I can get my other projects on the go. In the meantime, I'm about 2 days away from being a solo globe trotter and going out into the wilds to scare the shit out of myself. And I'll keep all posted with that. So, what else? Lots to share. Inbox is getting absolutely jam-packed as usual. Maybe I'll use that video roll from the other day again on this video, and you guys can watch that instead of my ugly mug in this room right here. It's the first storm outside right now. It's a ripper, so I can't really go anywhere cool to get these shares done, so I'm going to do it from here again. Lots going on the planet. I don't need to rant about anything right now, although it's kind of fun at times. But there's lots to share, and there's a lot of people to get heard. So, here we go. Let's get more people heard, all right? Listen to this. I want to believe my first sighting of the big guy, and that's the title of this email. Hi, Brother Steve. Let me start this communication by saying thank you for what you're doing. I have a lot of respect for those who have the gumption to stand up in the face of the man, end quote, or any entity that wants to put a cap on our natural right to speak our mind. No shit, eh? We shall prevail. Today's date is Tuesday, January 24, 2023. That's right, I'm at the top of the pile right now, you guys. I live in a small mountain town in Northern California near the Sierra Nevadas called Buckhorn. My friend has a gold claim around these parts. This is where my sighting occurred. As a preface to my story, I'm an automotive/diesel master mechanic, and I have a tendency to look at the facts and technical issues of perception. I never had any real intentions of writing you, but I've been an avid listener. But as I was watching one of your clips entitled, U.S. Forces Man Shares Terror, I was pleasantly surprised to hear you telling a story I've heard many times firsthand. I knew right away it was from my friend Keith. Keith is a true mountain man and has lived in this rough terrain in the middle of BLM property at his claim for at least 7 years and had many experiences with the forest people. One of the huge fires that ran its course through California went right through his path. Plus, with all the storms and road washouts and lack of land management by the government, the road to his claim is treacherous to say the least. I was with him at his claim about a month ago. We're leaving camp to get supplies, i.e. beer and bacon, lol. It's about a 3-mile drive up a muddy and fire-devastated path with cliff drops that will make your butt pucker. When you've been in this type of environment, you become very aware of your surroundings and what is where, like dead tree falls, widowmakers, and stumps. We were in his truck on the way out and had just got done with the chainsaws, cutting down fallen trees in our path. I'm just saying this as a note because it may be a factor in why we were being tracked or watched by the big guy. As we came up to a big right turn, Keith said as he looked out the front and up the hill, "Do you see that?" Before he could even get the whole sentence out, I said, "Yep," and we kept going. What we saw was not there before on any supply run. It was not a stump bearer, and both of us went into a very assertive, focused mode, as if something instinctive in us sensed it. It was maybe 50 yards up the hill. It was crouching and still. It had hair, the same color as an orangutan, bright reddish orange and huge, like a linebacker with a ghillie suit on. I knew it right away. This was it. I finally saw one. It's as simple as that. Not too exciting, but when you see him, you know. Yeah, no shit. Do you ever? And That's exactly what a friend of mine described it. He ran into one, and he doesn't like talking about this topic at all. But when he seen one, he said the same thing. It looked like a guy in a ghillie suit. It looked like a great big huge guy in a ghillie suit. But the one he saw had charcoal, grayish black hair walking away from him across a little grass opening when he was timber hunting near Joffrey Lakes, just above Mount Currie, Pemberton, British Columbia, Duffy Highway. I've taken you guys there lots of times. Welcome to the club, man. Welcome to the club. Didn't ask, didn't apply to get in. You just kind of show up as soon as you see these things, and then you get slapped in the face with the truth, right? It's funny. Had a handful of hate mails lately. I don't know why. Sometimes it comes in waves, sometimes it disappears. Sometimes a whole bunch of people forward me a bunch of nasty shit being said about me somewhere online, and just so you guys know, it doesn't do anything to me. But just for all you newbies that may be on this channel, this isn't about proving shit. If you're coming here looking for proof of this truth and many others, it's not about truth. It's people talking. It's not about proving. I should say it's not about proving anything. You're welcome to come in the door. It's wide open. As long as you come here and treat everybody with respect, you'll be treated with respect back. But if you're here to complain and you're not getting what you need, just carry on. And it'll save me having to tell you to ram it up your ass if you get rude, right? Because I got no problems doing that. But anyway, this place is for the people who know the truth, have seen the truth, and they have a safe, polite place, tight-knit group who's got each other's backs to speak openly about the crazy ass shit they saw and they didn't ask for. All right, so if you're brand new here, that's what this place is about, okay? And this isn't about anybody. This isn't about you. It's not about me. So if you got complaints, keep them to yourself and carry on and go find somewhere else that you need to make you feel good. How's that for a quick little short rant with not too many swears? Weird, huh? Now, this is titled Supervising Sasquatch. My wife's family asked me to build a shooting shack for a deer over a food plot on a piece of their land they called the bog. This piece is a half-mile across wetland in the woods. The road in is made from felled trees lined and stacked across wetland, surrounded by nothing but woods and bog. I took one day just hauling in lumber and some metal roofing. The road is rough and needs clearance and four-wheel drive to enter, slow and rough. I got my materials in and organized on a Saturday and Sunday. I was going to start building. Sunday, I got the floor framed and boarded over and had to go after that. I was working nights at the time, so I wouldn't get back at it again until Friday. Come Friday, I went in about 10 in the morning. I was framing up the walls and heard some yips, yaps, and growls and chutting sounds behind me in the woods about 50 to 75 feet. They carried on for a while, and I figured there must have been a coyote den in there. I continued working and kept hearing it every so often, and at times it was closer, but I couldn't see anything in the fir trees. I continued framing up one wall at a time, nailing and cutting with chainsaw. I still would hear the noises intermittent. Same area. They didn't seem to move much. I eventually got the wall and roof framed. All day in spells I would hear these sounds. The day got late and I was losing my light, so I cleaned up my mess and stacked all my boards and lumber. Then I left for home. I came back Saturday and found boards scattered and knocked over. So I picked up everything again, kicked the boards closer to the shack, where I could reach them, and I started boarding up. It wasn't 10 minutes and the noises started again. Between the nailing and the sawing, intermittent yips, yaps, growls, and chutting noises, I got a bunch of boards nailed on and started the saw. And as I was cutting, I felt big thuds on the ground. What is that? I wondered and shut off the chainsaw. I looked around, saw nothing. Then the noises started again, just out of sight. I don't know, so I just get back to work. Nailing on boards, then cutting off tails, and I feel thud, thud, thud. So I shut off the saw and look. Nothing in sight, no noise. Then the yip, yap, growl, and chutting noises start. I'm nervous now because something is trying to get my attention, yet I can't see it. Cautiously, I start nailing boards on and out of nowhere, sorry, there's a couple of comma missing there, cautiously, I start nailing boards on, and out of nowhere, a really loud scream like a woman, and deep but throaty, it came from the other side of the food plot. The food plot is roughly 100 by 150 yards, and it screamed from the furthest point from me of the plot. I was petrified and jumped to my truck and left. Excuse me, I went and got my grandfather and told him, and he came back with me the next day. I had him hold a pump shotgun and sit on a stump while I worked. Not a sound all that day or any day we went back up until it was done. Since that encounter, I've not only seen 2 Sasquatch talking in that same fashion, but had another encounter of one just out of sight try to talk to me in that language. It's almost a combination of canine and ape, but closer to what you picture when 2 dogs talk to each other in syllables of different duration of exhaled growls. And it's hard to explain, but there's a language beyond people talking of mind speaking. I personally haven't encountered mind speaking, but do not doubt it. Anything's possible. Damn right, anything's possible. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely appreciate that email, man. And you mentioned you've seen 2 of these things talking. So it's up to you if you want to write in with the details of what happened. I'm sure the people listening are probably going to be saying, "What the hell, dude? Why aren't you sharing that now? We want to hear it." Right? It's up to you. I'm good either way. But it may help somebody. Some of the details you have from seeing that may help somebody with their missing puzzle pieces, right? But anyway, thanks again, man. Appreciate that. It's pretty unsettling, is it? Becoming a member of the Club of No Return? It's pretty unsettling for most. Now listen to this one. I watched it run up the hill. It's the title of this one. Hello, Steve. Please keep my name confidential. I heard you working on accepting the dog man is real and asked if anyone has seen one run up a steep hill. I can honestly say that dog man is out here in the woods. And also let me tell you, not only the woods, but also the rooftops and the backyards or wherever it wants to go. I've been writing down my 55-year history with the same dog man on paper for you. So, when you ask for somebody that has seen these things run up a steep hill, I've seen a dog man start at about 15 to 20 feet away from me till it was over the top of a very steep hill and gone. Below is a paragraph from that encounter when I was 12 years old and hunting on my dad's farm with a 410 pump shotgun. My dad's farm is located near the Yellow River Forest area in Iowa. I'd loaded 5 shells and was making my way at an angle up a steep hill as I walked further away from the farmyard. Excuse me. The following paragraph is where I cut and pasted from my encounters that I'm working on and writing down to submit. It is a good account of the encounter and true. I did not get back up today and wondered what story I could fabricate and send in to see if you would read it. So it is all the truth. Start from encounters. I was holding the shotgun in the ready position with the barrel up and safety on. I was about 15 feet from a tree ahead of me that I would be passing really close on my set trajectory. I was moving slowly, and all of a sudden, a fox ran in front of me. I thought I was behind the tree. That was basically the next tree that would have been on my right side. This fox was big, and I raised my gun. I heard somebody say, "Don't," and I fired. I heard the word "don't" before I fired and the word "shoot" after I fired. I hit the fox behind the left front leg. It kept running without missing a stroke. It was young. I was young and knew nothing about what we now call mind speak. I stood there, watched as the fox ran straight up the hill. There was a full-blown mind speak argument between the fox and me until it crested the top and was gone. I walked where I thought I hit it to look around for blood. There was hair, skin, and blood to prove to me that I had hit my target. I followed the path it took up the hill. Now, this fox went straight up that hill in a matter of seconds, and it took me about 5 minutes to get to the top using my hands to grab foliage. End of excerpt. That completes the excerpt from my writing of the first encounter, but I wanted to explain how and where I had my first encounter with the dog man. I'm working on getting it all sent to you, and then you will have my 3 visual experiences, and a few times it let me know it was close and knew where I was. These take place over the past 55 years, and it is very scary how the dog man has followed me. I was tagged by this juvenile dog man but was unaware at the time because I didn't know I was even dealing with a cryptic creature. So here's what I saw as the dog man ran away and up a steep hill during my first encounter. The dog man ran on all fours with the front hands stabbing the ground and pulling itself toward the back leg simultaneously, coming up parallel with its body. Then, as quick as the hands finish pulling, the back legs are hitting the ground and pushing. It was running like a greyhound racing dog's motion when chasing a rabbit at the track with the profile of a razorback or a hyena. It only used its fingers and not the thumb to stab and grab the earth to pull, and was peeling out every stroke, and dirt was flying behind it. The hill was very steep. The dog man had taken off at a full run after the pellets from the 410 hit it, but I don't think the pellets got past the rib cage. Personal encounters of a couple that stick with me, even though my dog man is trying to get these erased from my mind. When the dog man scares you, they will try to place doubt in your mind that you didn't really see what you thought you saw. I'm writing it down and I'll explain the other encounters as well as the conversation with this creature. I have many puzzle pieces, but they're all with the dog man and have never seen a Sasquatch. I'd like to petition the Club of No Return for a dog man chapter membership. You say it best when you say that people can't handle Sasquatch, so how are they going to handle the other creatures that are running around in the woods? I'll send you this complete encounter as well as the others. Thank you, God bless you for the work you're performing to give a voice to those carrying the weight. Best regards. Okay, man, did you say to keep your name? Yeah, you did. All right, thanks for that. And the dogman topic is one hell of a weird one for me, right? I made that clear, but if I would be a complete moron at this stage of the game with the information I've been given to tell the thousands of people who have seen this description that they're nuts and they didn't see it. You know, anybody's a moron to tell somebody they didn't see something when they weren't there. You're just a moron. That's all there is to it. Nobody can tell somebody what they did or did not experience in this lifetime. It's not going to happen, right? All we can do is share with each other what the F we saw. Thanks for that quick reply, cutting that out of your original email you're working on. I absolutely appreciate it, man. And you gave me a good visual. I can see that thing ripping up the hill. And getting back to my original request, what I was curious about was these Sasquatch beings, how they effortlessly go ripping up a steep rock face that a human can't. That's what's really got my attention. I mean, I can picture any kind of a being digging and stabbing its feet in dirt. That's a somewhat what I would possibly say is a no-brainer. But when I'm picturing something that may weigh upwards of 1,000 pounds ripping up a steep rock face, and it has basically feet and hands shaped like mine. All right, how is it doing this? How the hell are those feet? We've seen the footprints. They're just like ours at dermal ridges. There's no suction cups or metal spikes, right? There's no claws. They have skin under their feet just like us. Skin on their hands just like us. Okay? They weigh 5 times as much as your average 200-pound man. How the F are they ripping up these rock faces? I want to know. I'm curious. What are those hands and feet doing that I can't do with mine? You know what I mean? Had a friend of mine, good friend of mine, very A-type guy. He has cougar hounds. He actually went up in the mountains with me when we flew in that yellow plane one time looking for sheep. I've gone remote hunting with him a few times, and they were up above Comox Courtney in the mountains in deep snow deer hunting, him and 2 other people. One was with him, the other person they split up. And he told me that he told me on video. We set up the camera in front of the campfire 2 years ago, and he told me this experience on here. But I'll mention it again. He said flat out, there's a larger footprint and a smaller one, and they were going straight up. Absolute steep mountain, and they got to where it went up in a rock face. They split up. The 2 footprints split up, came to an ice-covered rock face where there is no frickin' way, he said, they could go on that rock face, and those barefoot prints went right up there, like nothing. Okay, how the hell did they do that? Do you know what I mean? You see where my curiosity's coming from when it comes to that detail? something I'd like to know and see. Well, I don't know if I really want to see it. I'd like to see it. It's like Dave, it's funny, I was texting with Dave Plattis there last week, and what he said, I told him I might go into some jungles in another country here and look with some elders for some crazy shit. And then he goes, I thought you said you never ever wanted to see one of those things. He texts me back, and I'm like, well, I somewhat learned my lesson looking for him intentionally, but I mean, I know I'm going to have a face-to-face again eventually. There's just no way I'm not going to. It's just a matter of when and where. I've accepted that fate, but I'm just not really into it. You know, like we had a chance, Dave and I had a chance, he offered up for me to travel to Russia with him to go look into something that seemed possibly ridiculously huge of an event. Didn't pan out, but he asked me if I wanted to go. It would have, if we had and went, it would have included us going somewhere remote in Russia with another person and seeing one of these things face to face. I mean, how much more pucker factor does it get to do that in the first place, right? Just to fly side by side into a remote place in Russia, right? And then to top it off, go get introduced to some huge hairy being. And I said, okay, I'll do it, let's go. And I was in. And once I say I'm in, I'm in. But it didn't pan out. It just didn't work out. Dave had a bad feeling that it wasn't legit, so we didn't go. So no, you don't have to harass him about anything. It wasn't legit, we didn't go. Now, moving along, let's hear somebody else while I'm right here. These are all recent from the top of the stack. Okay, guys? No title in this email. Hey, Steve, my name's Jared Jones. I'm 44 years old, and I hail from the great state of Oklahoma. Let me start up by saying thank you for this platform you've created for the people to get these truths off our chest. Okay, Jared, I sure hope somewhere in this email you don't tell me to not use your name. I'm sure you and everyone else who have had experience with these beings firsthand will attest to the feeling of gratitude for being able to tell the story without ridicule or judgment. It's nice to be able to rid myself of the weight I carry by keeping the story bottled up. This is the first time since my experience in 2017 that I've been able to let this be known. Enough of my whining, on with my encounter. Dude, thank you so much. You're a free man, you're a brave man, and you know you're in the right frickin' place, right? Me and my wife have been going to southeastern Oklahoma for the past 15 years to enjoy the only part of our state that has mountains and pine trees. We visit Smithville, Oklahoma 2 or 3 times a year and camp out on the Mountain Fork River. It's a beautiful scenic river full of smallmouth bass and keeps a hillbilly like me occupied for hours. Let me say I grew up hunting and fishing since I was old enough to carry a rifle and know the local wildlife pretty well, so I thought. Our trips to Smithville have always been relaxing and quiet. We pull the camper down there and we'll stay for 3 or 4 days along the river and spend our days fishing, hiking, and enjoying the beautiful scenery. On a cold weekend in February 2017, we arrived at our camping spot around 3 p.m. I was stoked that we had the entire campground to ourselves, not a soul around. I started the trip off by getting some good craft beers from the local brewery and rolling a doobie. I got a campfire started and cracked open a cold beer and fired up a joint. It was still daylight, and the sounds of birds and running water was soothing, and just what I needed to wind down from the grind of being a slave to the system and working my ass off just to make it. I noticed about an hour into our long weekend that I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Like that feeling that you forgot to do something, but I couldn't remember what that something was. Nothing eerie or weird, just a feeling that would not go away. I remember hearing a couple of faint whoops coming from the top of the pine-covered hillside about 300 or 400 yards away. Nothing overbearingly loud, just loud enough to pick it out. The whoops, just like the ones Ron Moore had recorded in the Sierra Sounds, I mean to a T. I remember my wife asked me what that sound was and me shrugging it off. Probably some kind of an owl, I told her. We thought nothing of it and turned the radio on. The rest of the afternoon was uneventful with nothing out of the ordinary to speak of that would change once the sun went down. The sun sets around 5:30 or so at that time of year, making the night seem forever. It was dark, sometime after 6. We had just finished dinner and sitting by the fire when the whooping started up again. This time it came from upriver, maybe 100 yards away, and got me on my feet. The wife was inside the camper cleaning up, so she didn't hear this one. The sound came from the same side of the river we were on and was answered by another whoop 100 yards or so downriver in the opposite direction. One series of 2 whoops followed by another series of 2 whoops on the other side of us. It wasn't 5 minutes after the whoops started up that pine cones were being thrown at us, bouncing off both sides of the camper. Nothing big or heavy, just pine cones. The wife came out of the trailer and asked why I was knocking on the side of the camper. Before I could say I wasn't knocking on anything, a roar came from upriver that would make John Wayne piss himself. We don't have a ton of bears in this state, maybe a few hundred, so I'm not too familiar with bears or the sounds they make. But I knew whatever that was no bear. The sheer volume of this roar vibrated my chest, Steve. This was the loudest roar I have ever heard. The only sound that I can compare it to is one of a T-Rex on Jurassic Park. The wife slammed the door and left me left my fat ass outside before another roar could be made. I went to my truck and I got the 45 to make myself feel better. But judging by the sound of the roar, I'm not sure it would have helped. I remember getting a flashlight out and shining it around camp. I didn't see anything on my side of the trailer, but walking to the back side and shining my light around, I see eye shine about 7 or 8 feet off the ground, maybe 30 feet from me. The eyes were huge and what seemed to be an amber or orange hue to them. I remember standing there for what seemed like an hour, but in reality, it couldn't have been more than 10 seconds staring at this eye shine. I start to back away from whatever I was looking at when growling started from the other side of the trailer. I ran back around the trailer, shining my light toward the growling, but saw nothing. I turned and ran back to check on the eye shine I saw before and saw nothing. I hauled ass inside the camper, trying not to scare the wife, and sat down to ponder what just happened. I didn't recall if everything went quiet or not just before my encounter, as I was pretty shaken up at what I think I just saw. I remember my wife asking me what the hell was outside, and me just shuddering and spitting out, I think it was a bear. I never told her about the eye shine and how high off the ground it was, as she was already shaken up. I remember the camper being pelted with more pine cones for the next 10 minutes or so, and then everything just stopped. No sounds from pine cones, no roaring, no growling, nothing. I gathered enough nerve to go outside and sit and listen. I can't remember hearing the river, which was odd because we were set up right next to it. I just sat there still and quiet, listening to any sound I could hear. I heard the shuffle of leaves coming from the same side of the trailer I was on, but nothing else. The shuffling sounded like whatever it was moving away from us. The rest of the night was uneventful, but I didn't sleep well. I kept reliving that roar and growling over and over, trying to convince myself I just had an encounter with a couple of black bears, but I knew better. The next day I'm looking around for tracks or any evidence that I'm not crazy, but found nothing. Nothing happened the next day as we enjoyed our day fishing and hiking. Holy shit, I can't believe you stayed. I don't think I could get Sarah to stay there if we heard that. Guarantee you that one. The odd feeling I had the day before was gone, but the events we encountered the night before would be in my mind all day. The following evening finds me rebuilding a campfire, waiting on the wife to get back from town. I remember hearing a whoop from the top of the hillside around 4 or 5 o'clock that evening and thinking, oh shit, here we go again. But thankfully that was all that would happen. I remember being nervous for the next couple hours, expecting to get another visit, but nothing eventful would happen the rest of our trip. Since that weekend, I started looking into the Sabe and found your channel. What a relief it was to hear so many other people with more terrifying experiences than mine. And to know I'm not the only one carrying this burden with me. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent listening to you, Dave Politis, and Scott Carpenter. Y'all are some good people and are making a difference in this sad, dark world we're living in. It's pretty obvious to me that as a whole, the people are dumbed down and our powers are slowly numbed and hidden from us by a group of sadistic, power-hungry sons of bitches. I believe the tides are turning, however, and we will regain what was stolen/hidden from us soon enough, and the world will be as it was meant to be in due time. Until then, I'll stand and fight. I will not comply, and will fight with you and the rest of the round table until my last breath. God bless you and Sarah, and God bless the rest of the round table and knowledge. Love y'all. Jared. Right back at you, my man. Right back at you in another member of the Club of No Return and another free-thinking human being. Yeah, it's funny. You know, I'm not going to torment Sarah too much while we're here, but I got some videos I'm going to be making shortly for the Rumble channel. I got a lot to say. Needs to be said. And I think probably because the more I go, the more I learn, the more I realize of certain things, and the more I got to share with everybody else so I can maybe hopefully help them bump ahead on their ride. Maybe. You know, as there's a lot of you out there that are helping me leap ahead on my ride. But anyway, that should do for today. And it's shitty out there. It's windy. It's raining. And we'll see what we're going to do with the rest of our day. I'll be back. Keep emailing in those experiences and the knowledge, all right? Be safe out there.